It's time for closing. Hope. It's why you came today. It's why all of us work so hard to raise money for the American Cancer Society. I was 35 when I heard the words, "you have cancer." I had young children. I was a teacher. I found a lump while I was getting in the shower. I noticed it because I had some skin changes. Did a self-exam and found a lump and went into the doctor. And the nurse practitioner said, "Oh, honey, it'll be nothing. You're way too young to have breast cancer." So off I went. I had a mammogram, which of course said there was no lump. A mammogram's not the best test. Still got to have it. And then I also went across the hall and had an ultrasound. And I could tell something was wrong because the girl said, "Let me go get the doctor." And then the doctor came in and said, "They'll call you." And they did. They called me that night and sent me the next day back to the doctor and from the doctor's office to the surgeon. And that lump turned out to be a very aggressive cancer. And so in a couple of weeks, I had a radical mastectomy, which wasn't quite enough as I was staged at stage 3, intraductal carcinoma. And so I had 4 doses of chemo that year. First of all, I want to thank my community of caregivers because they did everything for me. Picked my kids up, made me dinners. They took care of helping me finish report cards when I had to leave school early to have surgery. As I look back, I think about that time, and then the next year when I returned to school, I had a little boy in my class who had leukemia. We went to the same infusion center, lost our hair together. It was an interesting year, and I kept thinking, well, if he could do it, I could do it. We're going to get through this. How do you do that? You just keep going one step at a time. After I had my chemotherapy, I'd like to say that was the end of the journey, but I've lost many of my family to cancer as well. This year, my brother was diagnosed with bladder cancer, but I lost my mother to liver cancer. I lost my father to a long battle with prostate cancer. My father-in-law passed from lung cancer, even though he never smoked a day. Cancer's been in my family. It's a journey that never quite ends. 3 years after I had my chemotherapy, I had a post-chemo baby, which gave me lots of hope that things were still okay in my world. Today, I ask you to think about everything that's happened today. We've talked about celebrating our survivors and honoring our caregivers. We've remembered those who have passed. We've taken this journey together today, not in person, but virtually. And I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. Hope is why we do that. We would like to thank, first of all, I'd like to thank my ACS partner, because we totally couldn't have done this without her. Thank you, Christy, and your partner, Jennifer. And then also, we'd like to thank our participants, especially those of you that are on teams, have captains. We really appreciate all the work you've put in this year. We'd like to thank our survivors and our caregivers. This is why we relay. We'd like to thank our sponsors. They really help us to get off the ground with our fundraising. We'd like to thank the event leadership team, and I'd really like to thank all those people that came to all those meetings because they're now officially on the committee. We'd like to thank everybody for coming today. In closing, we just want to remind you that we celebrate, we remember, and we fight back. Thank you for coming to Relay this year. Virtual 2020.